EA Interviews, episode 48.
Inspiration, transformation, success stories, and the Imperfect Action Round. 7 days a week. Join Mario Ficini for today's Expert Authority Effect interview.
I have a question for you, Expert Authority World. Have you ever wanted to go on camera? Have you ever wanted to get your message out? Have you ever wanted to share it with the world? Have you had some insight that you want to get to your prospects? And you know you should be doing it on video, but you're just not sure how to start. How is that possible? How do I do this? I've seen people do it. I've heard about it. You just have some reservations and not quite sure where to start. Well, I am excited to have none other than video marketing expert Jessica Brace on today's episode. And I'm going to bring her up, and she's going to be sharing with you right after we thank the sponsor. How would you like to grow your wealth easier than you think with the change you probably don't notice anyhow automatically? That's why I started the Compounding Interest Snowball Investing with Acorns and advise you do too. Get started simply and easily today at eainterviews.com/acorns. Here she is, everyone, Jessica Brace. Jessica, I'm excited to have you on the show. How are you feeling today?
Doing awesome.
Let's jump right into it. What is your inspiration for starting your company? I mean, why video?
Actually, it wasn't video. I started back in 1999, way back when, old school dinosaur, doing website design. And I mean, pre-Google, if you had a website design company, you had to advertise your website design company in the yellow pages.
That's a good place for it.
How long ago it was. And then fast forward, I was in business for like 12 years and YouTube came out and I was like, you know what? I'm like, oh, excuse the background. That's my cat. And I just fell in love with video and YouTube and everything. And I was like, wow, this is really the future of business. And I started working with my clients on it and seeing success, and I fell in love.
Well, I'm glad you did, because that's how we got connected. So why don't you tell Expert Authority World who you help and how you help them?
So I help entrepreneurs, speakers, and coaches to not only feel confident and comfortable on camera, but to figure out a way that they can leverage the power of video, repurposing the video. So a lot of times people will, like, oh, I'm going to do a Facebook Live and it's, I'm going to do it every Wednesday. And then Wednesday comes and goes and they get busy or they forget and they get overwhelmed with the process of video. So I work with them to create a blueprint that they can do the video one time and be done with it and have that video repurposed again and again.
There's so much you can do with video, and it's so beneficial. I'm glad you're helping people do it, because there's more people in the world I believe should be doing it, and unfortunately they have reservations. So why don't we inspire them a little bit with not having reservations, or even if they do, how to get past them. What is your biggest client success story that you've had so far from someone that's come to you for help?
Biggest client success story. Wow. So there's so many.
That's a good problem to have. Hashtag first world problems.
Yeah, exactly. I do a lot of retreats with women to help them feel confident and comfortable on camera. So we spend the weekend together working through, what is holding you back from video. And there's been a lot of tears in that. There's not really one in particular, because every single client that I've worked with has walked away with something massive, whether it was they have, their voice back, or they feel like for the first time in their lives they're being heard. They're actually feeling comfortable with being seen. I mean, there's so many issues that come up for people with working with video, because it completely exposes you and you're totally vulnerable on video, and that makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
How do you help them through that? I've encountered that with my clients before as well. And how do you walk them through it?
So it's really interesting because I didn't have a lot of reservations about it. I was actually an introvert a long time ago. I know, shocking. And that's why I chose website design, because I didn't have to leave my house. And when I first started doing video, I liked the results that I got from it right away. Hey, this was new, this was interesting. And I figured, hey, I'm going to get all my clients to sign up and do this too, because here I was ranked on YouTube, ranked #1 on Google. And it was a fantastic thing. So I showed my clients what I did for myself. they were like, yeah, sign up. And I was like, great, what time do you want to come to the studio? And they're like, oh no, I'm not on camera. No. And I actually had my first client come to the studio, and I saw her park her car, but she never came in the door. And it was like 20 minutes later, and I'm like, well, where is she? And I opened the front door and I looked outside, and the girl was literally laying on the driveway throwing up because she could not get herself to step into the studio. She knew that she wanted to do it for her business, and she thought it was a great idea, but her anxiety levels of actually stepping into the studio, turning on that camera and recording herself was making her physically ill. So I knew that I had to do something different other than like, toughen up and get on camera and just do it. Wasn't something that was going to happen. So I actually went and got trained as an NLP practitioner, a life coach, and a certification in hypnosis. Not that I was going to use that for therapy per se, but I wanted to have the tools in my toolbox to help people. So when they're in the video studio and they were starting to feel a little unsure, I would have tools to help them through that.
A little unsure?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad you're helping them. I would say I've encountered it more when I'm helping clients publish books.
Yeah.
With video, it's usually like they want to or they don't, or maybe there's a little gray area, maybe just one or two shades of it. And that's interesting. I'm glad you were able to help her through it, but I hope you don't have to deal with that too much, because you should be telling them it's a lot of fun, and, just tell them, hey, let's do a practice run and turn on the camera, when they don't think it's on or something. That's something, something I've done before. A
lot of looking at it like, it's funny that I'm raising 2 little boys now, and people tell me all the time, oh, stranger danger, you shouldn't let him talk to strangers. And my response to them is, I'm raising an entrepreneur, and I want him to be very successful at sales and feel comfortable talking to people. So thank you very much for your input, but my son will learn to speak to strangers, and I am here to supervise. Because I think that, growing up, we're told, be quiet, or you should be seen and not heard, or don't be too much of yourself. And there's all of these things that are programmed into you that, for safety reasons or whatever, as a child, they don't really serve you well as an entrepreneur.
I agree with that 100%. And, the whole don't talk to strangers thing, I think that cripples people, and they carry on. And it's not to say don't talk to strangers, but don't take candy from strangers, don't get in cars with strangers. And I think I'm glad you brought that up, because that goes to the messaging and the communication. And I feel there's so many people out there with a good message. They have a great business. They want to get the message out, basic marketing, and they have the thoughts in their head, but they can't articulate them, whether it's video publishing, whatever the case is, podcasting. They just need the right messaging. And absolutely, that's the great thing about owning the business. If you ever see me talking to myself, I'm having a staff meeting, right?
That magical board, right?
But so often you're worried about what's on the news, what's out here, what's everyone saying to us. But the question is, what are we saying to ourselves? So yeah, I agree with that. And that resonates, real deep with me, because, we all have stuff we were told as a kid you have to get past. And it's like, wow, how'd you pull that off? It's like, it wasn't overnight. You have to be consistent with it, even when you don't want to. So I appreciate you sharing that story. And for anyone listening, what is one thing they can do to set them at ease so they can have a transformation?
Sure, absolutely. It's a few things that I do. So one of the core things that I teach is grounding yourself. And it really is, just feeling connected to yourself and what you're doing. Because a lot of times, when you're nervous and you're anxious and your thoughts are racing and all of this is going on, you forget what your purpose was and what you're trying to do. So I just kind of do something that I learned from yoga, which is just plant your feet firmly to the ground, feel your feet on the ground, and imagine roots coming from your feet, growing deep into the ground and going through your whole body, and just recentering your energy and yourself into the space and becoming present. Because when you're anxious and you're all around and stuff, you're not present with what it is that you're doing, and your delivery on video of what you're saying is going to be scattered and just the wrong energy. The other thing that I learned, which is from Tony Robbins, which is the gratitude flood. I don't know if you saw when he did that on Oprah, but your mind can only process one emotion at a time. So you can't be scared and happy at the same time. It doesn't work. You can only do one thing at a time. So you can choose which emotion that you're going to live in and choose your state, is what Tony calls it. So what he does is a gratitude flood, where you just completely flood yourself with gratitude. And it's so simple. So I do this every time before I film, where I literally take 10 seconds and I think of 10 things that I'm grateful for. And on some days that are really bad days, I can be like, thank goodness I have electricity to turn on this computer. So it can be as simple as that, or it can be, the whole things. But the state of gratitude, when you put yourself in that, your anxiety and your stress and your emotions that you have that are holding you tight from doing video will just let go within 10 seconds.
I love that you're sharing with this so much, because so many people think the woo floofy stuff, whatever you want to call it. I'm all about the gratitude and optimism and positive thinking and all that. And there's a lot I could get into for what I do. Full transparency, not even with my clients for video. It's like everywhere else in every other part of the business. I was just telling someone earlier today about my daily success routine, and it starts off with a lot of what you're talking about to start the day. But yes. I can't say I was like, this is my on video camera approach. So I'm going to have you elaborate on that. What else do you do to ensure success on video?
So then the other thing that I do is I'm really clear on who my ideal client is. So a lot of times with video, it's a piece of technology, and our subconscious doesn't wrap around that we're talking to this piece of glass, because essentially that's what a camera is. It's just a piece of glass and a bunch of microchips. So your brain doesn't wrap around that there is potentially, millions of people on the other side of that piece of glass. And then sometimes when I say that to clients, they're like, oh God, 1 million people. And they start getting anxious. So what we do is we choose one person that we're going to speak to. And I let my clients know, if you can help this one person and you can do something or say something in this video that will change their lives in a totally different direction for the better, who would that person be? And then we actually describe that person. What is she wearing? What is she doing? Or he or she? What is their name? And we name them. So my person that I always talk to every time that I'm on camera, her name is Susie Strongheart. And so I talk to Susie at every video, and her and I have tons of conversations about all kinds of stuff. But I always have her in the back of my mind, and that takes away the technology of shooting video, and it really brings you back to the heart center and the focus of what it is your why of that you're running your business.
100%, because the whole point of using video as a medium isn't to be like, look at me, this and that, camera this. It's simply to get your message out and connect with people, and that's why I do it. And yeah, you need a microphone, you need lights, you need all these different things. And I've been stressing to people lately the costume, because you touched on it, and so many people, they'll go to the meeting, they'll go to stuff in real life, and it's always put your best foot forward. But I see people doing specifically Facebook live streams, and they're just, let's just say it's not as good as I know they could do it. And when you said whether you're talking to 1 or 1 million people, it's like, if you're going to a meeting, you might be there with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, even if it's a big one, 10. When you're on video, like right now, you are absolutely hitting the nail on the head. You can be in front of 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, potentially 1 million people.
Easily.
And that's why it's just astonishing to me. But it goes right back to the other thing you were touching on, is the mindset and where you're at in the anxiety level. If you can be I tell people, if you can be comfortable being uncomfortable, we're going to have a good time.
Yes.
Because no matter what's going on, there's been many times I went to start recording and there's a technical challenge, and it's like, oh no, now what? We find a solution and move forward. It's not a big deal. Like if there was no tech or challenges, it wouldn't be video, and it'd be boring like everything else, if you ask me. So I appreciate you sharing that. And let's talk about your book. How's that helped your business?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So the book, it did really well. I had I wouldn't say astronomical sales, but what the book did was it opened doors, like tremendous doors for me. So things like speaking on stages. I had a huge business conference approach me and say, hey, we saw your book and we've been looking for someone for video, and we saw your book advertised online and we want to interview you. And I ended up getting the speaker spot and traveling with them for 4 or 5 different shows, which was great, standing in front of an audience of 2,000 to 3,000 people because they saw my book. And they were really cool, actually. They bought copies of my book, and 800 copies of my book to give to every person in the audience at one of the events. And another, really big thing was I gave a copy of my book as a gift to Tony Robbins to thank him for inspiring me to continue with my business, because so many times I wanted to quit. And I would listen to him and some other speakers and get back on it and keep going. And so I wrote a little note and I handed the book to a security guard and they gave it to him backstage. And the next thing I know, I get a call and they said, hey, we really loved your book and we've been looking for a speaker about YouTube. We'd like for you to come and do a webinar for our business mastery clients.
Wow.
So I ended up doing a solo webinar for an hour all about YouTube and video marketing for Tony Robbins Business Mastery. And then I got an amazing written testimonial from the company afterwards. So, and that's really because of my book.
That's huge.
Yeah, it was huge.
So with what you were saying about the speaking part, let's dive a little bit deeper into that.
Sure.
Did you want to start speaking? Was that something that came about? How has that impacted your business over the years?
I wanted to speak, but I didn't know how to get on the bigger stages. So I was, local famous, where, the Rotary Club, the business groups, the chambers throughout the state, had heard of me and had invited me to come and speak. And I was doing really successful locally with speaking, but I could not punch through the door, no matter how many videos I sent and door knocks and all kinds of stuff, into these bigger type conferences where there was thousands of people. And, I started putting my book out there and sending my book to them instead of the classic resume video link type thing for the speakers applications. And it worked. That's how I started to get on bigger stages, by mailing people my book with a little gift, just a little FedEx package.
Well, I was asking you about speaking, and here you go talking about your book again, but I'm so glad you did. I'm just teasing, because these are so synergistic, and it's why I like asking people, because so many people that are listening to this, I just want them to know it's not that difficult. If you have an idea and you've actually helped people, you can expand all of this quite easily in quite a short amount of time. And Jessica's sharing here how all the video, the book, and the speaking has all played hand in hand, and it's really hard to not interweave them all together. It's like it's the synergistic effect, it's the expert authority effect, if you will.
Yeah, it really is. It's just not one platform. You can't be monotone. You just can't be like, oh, here I am this way, and then they turn you and you're flat. You need to have yourself filled out in all of the spaces, in all of the areas. Is it social media? Is it YouTube? Is it video? Am I speaking on stages? And when you have that well filled out box with everything that you are, it just becomes easier and easier for you to get more authority and more people reaching out to you.
I tell everyone, don't be boring. There's so many people out there, whether it's your messaging, your text, not text messaging, the text in your message, like a Facebook post, a LinkedIn post, whatever the case may be. Your text, your messaging, the video, the podcast, the book, whatever the case may be, you want to get people's attention. That's why I have it as step 1 in my book. And when I wrote my first one, I came up with this sitting on my couch eating ice cream, but it's instead of trying to get everyone's attention, why not be so captivating they can't look away? Everyone's trying to get attention. Why not just listen to Jessica and take the simple steps, do all of this, don't be boring, and people won't be able to look away. Don't overcomplicate it. Have fun with it. All right, Jessica, thank you for sharing with us. I can't wait to bring you up for the second half, the Imperfect Action Round. But first, let's thank our sponsor. Invest automatically, save for later, and spend today. That's why I love Acorns. I used to think spare change didn't make a difference and saving and investing was an old-fashioned manual process. It's not. And it's a game changer. If you're not leveraging compounding interest in your business and life, automatically, you're missing out. Acorns not only makes saving and investing easy and automatic, it makes it even more valuable by investing with diversified portfolios, spare change, extra cash, and rounding up everyday transactions. You can even set recurring monthly investments in the amount you desire. To make good great, there is also a debit card option that will continue to help you save and invest even further when you spend. Plus, no minimum balance and overdraft fees. Now, for the cherry on top. They have partnered with 250-plus companies and brands, and growing, with their Found Money program to invest back a percentage into your account with the everyday purchases when you shop. 2 of which you're probably listening to this right now through an Amazon or Apple device. Get started profiting from your everyday life and business simply and easily today at eainterviews.com/acorns. Once again, that's eainterviews.com/acorns. Jessica Brace, are you ready to take imperfect action?
Of course.
What's the fastest path to the cash?
Just do it. Just crank out content. I mean,
what if I fall? What if I get hurt? What if it doesn't work out?
Keep going. I've messed up a bajillion times, but you just keep going.
I love it. What is something your audience does that they keep screwing up that they should be improving on?
Oh, one of the things that is one of the first things that I teach about video is don't start your video with, hey, it's Jessica and I'm your video coach. And they don't care about you. They don't. You have like a split second to get someone's attention. So ask them a question because it's engaging and it will get them to come into your video. That is super important, especially with timelines and Facebook and all that, because they're rolling through. So you have to imagine someone's rolling through their timeline and they see your video and there's no sound. All they're seeing is your captions, which make sure that you have your captions on because that is super important. But if you don't have your captions on, they're going to scroll through and they're going to read that caption, that first few seconds of your video. And if that doesn't pull them in, they're gone. And, that's why you're going to end up with your videos with a whole bunch of 3-second views and nothing else. And you're not going to get results. So don't start your videos talking about you. Start it with a question that will bring your audience and get them to stop the scroll.
I love that tip. And that's the second time I've heard it in so many weeks about the captions. I think someone's trying to tell me something. That's absolutely true. Customer lifetime value. How do you maximize it?
So, way that we do it is it's really, video's never done. It's never done. You talk on one topic and then you can expand and then you can keep going. You should always be doing video. And people say, well, how much video should I be doing? And really right now, like if you want to build your YouTube channel, you got to do at least 4 to 5 videos a week, like fresh content constantly. And that's really the process that is working right now, is that you have to stay top of mind.
Let's talk about books again, shall we? What is one book that has made the biggest impact for your life?
I would say overall, the book that has made the biggest impact on my life would be Awaken the Giant Within from Tony Robbins.
Good read.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you for sharing and coming on. I've been excited to have you on here for a while. Why don't we let everyone know in Expert Authority World where they can find you?
Sure. So you can find me on Facebook as Jessica Brace, or you can check me out at my website, which is purplemermaidstudios.com.
Very good. Well, thank you, Jessica.
Well, a good night.
We'll see you on the next one. You're already successful. You've worked hard to get where you are. We both know it wasn't overnight and hasn't always been easy. No doubt you're the expert on your subject matter. But do your prospects in your marketplace think of you first as their go-to trusted advisor all the time? ExpertAuthorityChecklist.com is 100% free and reveals the 21 steps to determine if your prospects view you as the expert and authority of your marketplace or if it's just all in your mind. Important required steps like, do you have a process in place for prospects to self-identify if they qualify for your time and expertise or not? Does your current offer have the 7 components of an irresistible offer required to make it a no-brainer for your prospects? Do you have a real-life paperback book showcasing you as the subject matter expert you can actually hand someone? Get your free checklist now at ExpertAuthorityChecklist.com. Once again, Expert Authority Checklist, to make sure you have the 21 steps covered. It better not be more, but don't leave those 1 or 2 things you may have missing go any longer. Visit ExpertAuthorityChecklist.com and make sure you're being seen as the expert and authority today. Once again, that's ExpertAuthorityChecklist.com. Get your copy now.
Spare change? How's that going to make a difference? I know that's what I thought before I started investing with Acorns. Throwing change in a jar is not very leverage and time consuming, but what about all the transactions you don't use cash for? You know, like majority? Acorns not only invest your spare change automatically with roundups, it also lets you add a preset amount to each transaction regardless. It's pretty inspiring to see how quickly and easily you can end up with a pile of cash instead of a pile of receipts. Get started simply and easily today at eainterviews.com/acorns. Once again, that's eainterviews.com/acorns.